I never thought I'd step foot inside that place again, after barely escaping the endless halls of SCP-3008. I swore I'd never return. The fluorescent nightmare, the twisted employees, the cries of people trapped in that infinite IKEA, it haunted my dreams every night. But then I found out the truth. I wasn't the only one who made it out. Some didn't. When I finally talked to other survivors online, through hushed forums hidden in the deepest corners of the internet, I read message after message from people claiming their friends, family, entire groups were still inside. Some posts were desperate pleas, begging for help. Others were simply fragments, short updates that would suddenly stop mid-sentence, as if the writer was dragged away from the keyboard. That was when the guilt hit me. I had left them behind. I knew the risks. The Foundation's warnings echoed in my head. No one goes back inside. Containment priority. Civilian ignorance must be maintained. But what about the people who were still there? Forgotten? Consumed by the maze? So I made my decision. I was going back in. The nearest IKEA looked completely normal from the outside. A giant blue box with the bold yellow letters, cars in the parking lot, kids dragging parents toward the sliding doors. Nobody could ever guess that inside was something entirely different. I parked far from the entrance, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. The last time I saw those doors, I was sprinting through them with my lungs on fire. Employees chasing me, their blank faces twisted in silent rage. Now I was walking back into their world voluntarily. I stuffed a flashlight, spare batteries, and a hunting knife into my backpack. It felt useless, laughably small against the endless void waiting for me. But it was all I had. As the glass doors slid open, a gust of cool air hit me, carrying the sterile, artificial smell of IKEA furniture. My stomach clenched. The layout was the same. Living room sets, staged kitchens, fake families smiling in frames. I took one step, then another. Shoppers around me laughed, argued, and pointed at displays. Everything was perfectly normal until I walked too far. It happened exactly like before. One second I was in a normal store. The next, the world stretched into infinity. The walls vanished. The sections multiplied into an endless horizon of furniture. SCP-3008 had me again. The shoppers were gone. Only silence remained. And somewhere deep within that silence, I heard the heavy, slow footsteps of the employees. I wasn't here for myself this time. I was here to find the others. And I wasn't leaving without them. The first thing I remembered from my last time. Here was the rule: find shelter before the lights go out. Daytime inside SCP-3008 feels almost manageable. The fluorescent lights hum endlessly, casting that pale glow across row after row of furniture. But when night comes, when the lights die, that's when the employees really come alive. I gripped my flashlight tighter and moved quickly. I didn't have the luxury of panic this time. I needed to find survivors. I walked for what felt like hours, passing kitchen displays and sofa sections that repeated like a broken pattern. It was as if the store itself shifted when I wasn't looking. My head spun, trying to remember directions. I left chalk marks on furniture as I went, but more than once I swore the marks vanished the next time I glanced back. That was when I saw it. A crude sign. It wasn't IKEA made. It was human. A plank of wood from a bed frame, stuck upright between couches, with letters carved in jagged strokes. Haven, this way. My heart jumped. Survivors. I followed the direction, cautious but desperate. The further I went, the more signs I found: scraps of paper, arrows drawn in marker, even a trail of dismantled lamps lined up as if marking a path. And then I saw the walls. They had built a fortress. Broken wardrobes stacked into barricades. Bookshelves nailed together. Mattress walls bound with belts and duct tape. Above it, scraps of cloth hung like flags, fluttering slightly in the stale air. Someone had carved words into the entrance plank. Refuge 17. Safe for now. I knocked. Silence. Then, shuffling behind the barricade, a slit opened between two bookshelves, and a pair of eyes stared out at me, suspicious, tired, human. "Who the hell are you?" a voice whispered. I raised my hands. "I escaped once. I came back. I'm looking for people." The eyes narrowed. "Nobody comes back." The barricade groaned, and slowly a hidden door scraped open. Two people stood inside, holding makeshift spears crafted from broken furniture legs and kitchen knives taped to the ends. Their clothes were ragged, their faces pale under the harsh lights. Survivors. Real survivors. They didn't trust me, not yet. But when I stepped inside, I saw what they had built. There were at least 20 of them. Families, scavengers, guards patrolling narrow. Walkways made of coffee tables stacked high. Children curled up on piles of blankets, watched over by gaunt parents. This wasn't a random accident. This was a colony. And judging by the way everyone stared at me like I was a ghost, I realized something else. People don't return to SCP-3008. They either survive in here or they disappear forever. They didn't celebrate when I arrived. They didn't even smile. Inside Refuge 17, every face carried the same expression: hard, guarded, exhausted. These weren't just survivors. They were prisoners of a world with no exits. The man who first spoke to me introduced himself as Harris. He looked like a soldier once, but now his uniform was rags pieced together from staff aprons and curtains. His beard was gray and his eyes sharp. He didn't trust easily. "You think you can save us," he said bluntly as we sat near a flickering lantern. "But you don't understand. No one leaves unless the store allows it." I frowned. "That's not true. I escaped once." The group stirred at my words. Some looked hopeful, others almost angry. A woman with hollow cheeks shook her head. "Then you're cursed," she muttered. "Coming back here means the store claimed you. It doesn't let go twice." Her words clung to me like frost. I tried to explain how I had stumbled out years ago, how I had thought it was a nightmare until the urge to return became unbearable. But the more I spoke, the more I realized they already knew. Others had tried before me. A few had escaped, and some, just like me, had been pulled back inside. That night, when the lights began to flicker the signal of closing time, the true horror began. The guards scrambled to the barricades, gripping their makeshift spears. Families dragged mattresses to reinforce the walls. Harris shoved me toward a tower of wardrobes. "Up," he ordered. You'll see what we deal with." The lights died. The silence that followed was crushing. Then, the sound of footsteps, dozens, hundreds, shuffling across the endless aisles. Shapes emerged from the dark. Tall, faceless employees in yellow shirts, moving with inhuman rhythm. They began to circle the barricade, tapping their long fingers against the walls. One of them spoke, in that warped monotone I remembered too well. "The store is now closed. Please proceed to the checkout." I held my breath as the walls creaked. One of the children whimpered, and instantly 3 employees turned their heads toward the sound. The barricade shuddered as hands slammed against it. Mattresses bent inward. Wooden panels cracked. The survivors screamed orders, pushing back with poles and knives. I realized then just how fragile their fortress was. This wasn't safety. This was a stalemate, and it wouldn't last forever. As the employees clawed at the walls, Harris shouted over the chaos, "You still think you can get us out, outsider? Then prove it, because if you can't, this place will eat us alive." I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. The barricades held, but only barely. When the first artificial morning came, and the lights flicked back on, the employees simply walked away like nothing had happened. The survivors sighed in relief, but I saw the truth in their eyes. Relief was temporary. Every night was a siege. I told Harris I wanted to find the exit again. His laugh was bitter. "Exit?" He spat the word like it was poison. "There's no exit anymore. Not for you. Not for us." But still, he let me try. Maybe he hoped I'd die out there and stop stirring false hope. I took a small group with me, 3 young men and 1 woman. They were desperate enough to follow. We left Refuge 17, moving cautiously through endless furniture displays, kitchens that smelled faintly of fake meatballs, and showrooms frozen in eternal stillness. The store stretched into infinity, aisles repeating like a nightmare loop. Hours passed. The further we went, the stranger it became. Signs pointed to departments that didn't exist. Children's section minus 500 meters. Led us into a hallway with no ceiling, where the fluorescent lights hung in mid-air like stars. Another sign, written in letters that bled into static when you stared too long. Simply read, "Home." We heard screams in the distance. Not human. Long, hollow echoes that vibrated in my chest. The woman, Claire, grabbed my arm. "We should go back," she whispered. But I pressed on. That's when we found the others. Not all survivors formed refuges. Some roamed in packs feral, half-mad, armed with sharpened metal and broken chair legs. Their eyes were wild. They had painted themselves with aisle numbers, smeared across their skin like war paint. When they saw us, they didn't speak. They just grinned. One of them lunged. We fought in the middle of a showroom staged like a cozy living room. Fists slammed against faux coffee tables, blood-stained display rugs. Claire screamed as one of the ferals pulled her hair, smashing her head against a lamp that didn't break. The others swung wildly, laughing through broken teeth. We managed to drive them off, but not without cost. One of the young men was stabbed in the side. We carried him back, bleeding heavily, leaving red streaks across perfect white tiles. When we finally returned to Refuge 17, Harris stared at me coldly. "Now you understand," he said. "The employees aren't the only threat. The longer people stay here, the more the store changes them. Out there, some stop being human. And in here, he glanced at his own people. We pretend we're different. But one day, we won't be. I realized then, saving them wouldn't just mean fighting the employees. It would mean saving them from themselves. And maybe saving myself too. The night after the ambush, something inside me broke. I couldn't accept living in that endless nightmare, waiting for employees to rip me apart or for my own mind to decay into madness. If there was even the smallest chance of an exit, I had to take it alone if I had to. Claire begged me not to go. The young man we'd carried back was already dead, his blood drying on the tiles. She didn't want to lose anyone else. But I promised her, if I find the way, I'll come back for you. I left Refuge 17 before the lights went out. My heart hammered as I crossed into the darkness, guided only by the dim glow of emergency signs. For hours I walked through repeating department sofas, kitchens, rugs, all blurring together like a looping film reel. My legs ached, my throat was raw, and then I saw it. At the end of an impossibly long aisle stood the exit sign, bright red, glowing like salvation. I ran faster than I thought my body could move. Every breath burned, every step echoed in the silence. Behind me I could hear the heavy, synchronized footsteps of employees following, their monotone voices calling, "The store is now closed. Please proceed to the checkout." I burst through the final archway into blinding daylight. Grass, wind, real sky. I collapsed, sobbing, my hands clawing the earth. I was outside. I was free, or so I thought. When I looked back, there was no building, just an empty parking lot stretching forever. No walls, no glass doors. Only the faint outline of an IKEA logo shimmering in the distance, like heat haze. And then I realized this wasn't the world I had known. The sky was too pale, the sun too large, hanging still above the horizon. The air smelled sterile, manufactured. I heard footsteps behind me. Not employees, survivors, dozens of them, their faces blank, their eyes hollow. They stood in rows, silent, waiting. One of them stepped forward. It was Harris. But his voice wasn't his own. It was flat, echoing as though spoken by the store itself. "You never leave," he said. "There's only another showroom." The sky flickered. The ground beneath me shifted, tiles reappearing where grass had been. The outside dissolved, revealing endless aisles once more. The exit had been nothing but another display, another trick. I screamed, but my voice was swallowed by fluorescent light. The last thing I saw before the world sealed around me was a sign above my head. "Welcome to SCP-3008. Please enjoy your stay." And then the lights went out forever.